Okay. Welcome everyone. So so this will be the last session on covering Python basics. All right. So like in the past two sessions, we have covered what is Python and how to set up Python in your system, and as well as basic constructs like if else conditions, what are variables, expressions, and what were the different types of data types supported by Python. So this was all covered in the first session. In the second session, we have covered what are the data structures, for example, the storage structures supported by Python like lists, tuples, dictionaries, sets, etc. And also we talked about functions, how to write functions in Python and how to use them, and what are the scenarios where we can use functions and all these kind of topics. So in this last session, we're going to talk about Python loops and as well as third-party packages. Nothing but so you want to install a package, uh, which was, I mean, basically the some kind of extra dependencies into your project. So how do we do that, and how to start working on that? So so we're going to start on these two things today. And before we start, any questions till now?
No.
Sorry.
Yes, please go ahead. No issue.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so Python supports only two types of loopings. One is for loop, and the second one is while loop. So unlike other programming languages like Java, C, we do not have a do while loop, or we do not even have a switch case statement. So so these are the only two constructs which Python supports. And why do we need looping in the first place? Anyone?
Yes. To get executed some statement more than one time.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes, correct. So we don't want to write the same task again and again. So instead of that, we will opt for looping to do the same task again and again, like depend on the condition which you mentioned. So if we talk about for loop, what is a for loop? For loop is nothing but if you talk it in other programming languages. So what happens is you have an index variable, so the starting variable, and then you have the end variable. So we keep on iterating until we reach the end of the condition. So this is how we do looping in for loop. So let's look at the basic syntax. Let's define a list, Python list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So this is the sample list which we have defined. Okay, so let's see how we actually loop into this in this list. For index variable in temp, print index variable. So what we are doing is we are assigning each of this value in the list to this index variable, and then we are printing it. So this is similar like a for each loop, in the sense we like C construct. Yeah, we do something like this in C. We have an array. So we have a temp array, and we iterate over each and every element using that index value. But in Python, you don't need to do that. You directly have an access to this value directly. But in Python, in C language, we need to access it, that particular value, by its index position. So this is the difference between how we do looping in Python and how we do looping in C. Okay. Yeah. So what happens is basically each and every time index variable will be assigned with one of this value, and then we're going to print all of them. So let's look at the output. So yeah, if you see here, for the first time the index variable is 1, and for the second time it is 2, and for the third time it is 3, and it is continuing like that only. So yeah. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10. Okay. So what actually is happening is, each and every time what happens is, the interpreter will try to access one of the value, and then it will try to assign that value into this index variable, and then it is trying to print this value for us. So this is all happening in a magical way in the background, but actually interpreter is taking care of all those instructions, like extracting the value, first value, and then put in assigning it to the index variable. But it is also taking care of at what position we are at and to what position we have to continue. In the sense, like as I shown in the C, like we have to increment, right? If you want to access the next values, that incrementing is also taken care by the interpreter. We don't need to explicitly mention any such kind of things in the for loop. So by default, it will start from the 0th index, then it will go here, then it will go here, and it goes on. Okay. So this is one type of looping, how you do in Python. There is also another type where you can actually access the index value. So how we do is, basically we have something called range. Range is an inbuilt Python function. So what does range do? Range will simply try to generate list of numbers from 0 to some set of numbers which you mentioned. For example, if I say I want to generate a list of 100 numbers, what will I do is range 0, 100. So what is happening is, internally it will generate a list from 0 to 100. So let's see how that happens. So range is nothing but generating some set of numbers. So if you see, I have given from 0 to 100. So what happens is, it is generating a list for you from 0 to 99, because the last value is not inclusive. So yeah, so this is how these range functions. So now how will we using this range function in this Python for loop? So we simply need to give in this manner, saying that I want to access 0th index to the length of this particular list. In the sense, what is the length of this list? The length of this list is, I think it's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But as you all know, it starts as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So if we try to print these values, let's see what happens. So index variable doesn't have these actual numbers. It will only have the index values. So let's see. So index values are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these things are generated from this range. Now let's try to print what is the actual value inside it. So how do we access a array? In this manner. We have a temp, and then we are giving it to the index variable. So this is how we access a list or an array in any kind of programming construct. So let's see what is the output. So can you see that? We can see that the index value is 0 and its actual value is 1. So, and its index value is 1 and its actual value is 2. So this is how we try to, if you want to do the normal kind of looping where you don't want to specify in this format, then you can also iterate in this format. So any questions till now? Guys,
Okay, Rohit. Yes, yes, good. We are
does it
fine.
make sense? Is it clear? The concept is clear to guys?
Yes, yes. For me, it's
Okay.
clear.
Okay. So this is how we do the two types of looping using for loop. Okay. For every loop, there is two important concepts we need to remember. We have continue, we have break. Okay, so these are the two set of keywords which is applicable in any kind of programming language when you're doing looping. So what is continue and what is break is nothing but break is just to break your loop. Okay, continue is ignore that particular iteration, just jump into the next iteration. So these are the two meanings of break and continue. Break, just break the loop. Continue, ignore the current iteration and jump to next iteration. So when and where we'll be using these two keywords in your while looping. So suppose you have a scenario, okay, you only want to print even numbers, you don't want to print odd numbers. Okay, so let's see how we can achieve that. I only want to print even numbers, I don't want to print odd numbers. So how we can write that statement is, since you have access to this value directly, because we are preferring the first kind of looping here, so index variable will be replaced by the value here. So let's write a piece of code to only print the even numbers but not the odd numbers. Okay, if index variable modulo 2 not equal to 0, continue, else print index variable. So this is a condition just to identify even numbers. Okay. Yeah. So to identify even numbers, we are writing a condition. So if the number doesn't satisfy this, doesn't satisfy this condition, if it's not an even number, basically it will get inside this loop, and then it will ignore that particular iteration by using the continue. Else, it won't go inside it, and it will try to simply execute this value. So let's see how these things happen. Wait a minute. So if you see here, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 are the only even numbers we are trying to print. So what happened to the rest of the odd numbers? Since they are satisfying this condition, so they came inside this if condition, and after looking at the continue statement, that particular number is ignored, that particular iteration is ignored, it is jumping to the next iteration. So if you want to do a debug, so how things are happening are, for the first time we are inside this value 1, it will come here 1 modulo 2 not equal to 0. Yes, it is an odd number, so it is not equal to 0 by default. So then what happens? It is looking at the continue. So it will ignore all the rest of the statements. It won't execute anything. It will simply jump to the next iteration, to the next value, which is 2. So for when this is 2, what's happening is it is coming here 2 modulo 2 double equal to 0, because 2 is an even number. So when you do modulo of 2, it is by default equal to 0. This condition is not satisfying, so it is executing this statement. It will jump to the next iteration. The next iteration is 3. So 3 modulo 2 not equal to 0. Yes, it is, the condition is satisfied. It will come to this continue. It is ignoring the rest of the statements below that. It will simply execute the next iteration, which is 4. So this is how we are trying to print even numbers. And yeah, so this is the significance of continue keyword, just to ignore the current iteration and jump to the next iteration. Now let's talk about break. What is actually break do? So what does break do? Yes.
So Rohit, can we say that this continue is treat like as a else part?
No. Continue is not else part. So continue is nothing but it will be only used in a looping concept. It is not applicable elsewhere.
So in this Python else statement is not, would it not be required with the if statement?
Yeah. So in the previous class, I've explained that. So you can have something like three types of condition statements. You can have plain if. You can have if and else together. You can have if, elif, and else. So these are the three things supported in Python. So you can have a plain if directly. It doesn't matter if you have else or not.
Okay, okay. I'll just go through the previous class.
Yes. So, but is it clear till this one? The continue statement and the if condition?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about break. So what will I do is, I will say whenever I encounter the first odd number, I will simply break out of the loop. I won't execute the further iterations. Let's put a print statement outside. Now let's remove 1 from the first value. Well, let's start from 2 as of now for better understanding. Let's see what happens. So it has encountered even number. So this condition doesn't satisfy and it has executed this statement. So what happens? It should go to the next number, next iteration. In the next iteration, if the value is 3, since our condition is saying that if you encounter a even number, immediately break out of the loop. So what's happening? 3 is an odd number. Sorry. So if you encounter odd number, simply break out of the loop. So what's happening here is the condition satisfied. Since 3 is an odd number, we are simply breaking. So it means that the rest of the values are simply ignored and we came out of this loop directly. Makes sense. But if I add 1 here, we won't even actually execute to the 2 value. So it will break at the first position itself. See, because the first value itself is an odd number, and as per the condition, if you encounter odd number, simply break out of the loop. So it won't even execute this one. We are at here, this point. So these are the two keywords which we have to remember: break and as well as continue. Any questions?
Nothing from my side.
Okay. Okay, let's look at another statement, which is about for else. So there is another concept which is supported by Python, basically for else. So what's happening is this else will be executed once you come out of the loop. So let's see how these things happen. Print index value, index variable. Yeah, variable. Yeah. Completed. So let's see what happens. So if you see here, we are trying to print 1 by 1 value and we are executing this last statement else once we come out of the loop. So this won't execute if there is a break statement in the code. So to simply put it in this way, if let's write the odd condition again, if 2 not let's write the even condition this time. So let's break it. So let's see what happens. Will it actually execute else statement or not? So if you see here, it has come here. It has tried to print the value. Yes. And it is being checked. It is checking whether the given value is even or odd. If it's odd, it is simply ignored. It will come for the next iteration. It is printing that. Then it is checking whether it's a even number or not. If it's even number, it is breaking the loop, but it is not executing this else statement. So this is, so if you have, so if you want to perform some kind of instructions once you reach end of your loop, this is the construct which you need to use. So after you have executed, I mean, after you have iterated over the list, then you use else statement to just do some final alterations or do some kind of stuff. But if you break it, then it won't execute at all. So this is one kind of Python construct which is supported. For else loop. It's called as for else loop. Yeah. So if there is any break, it won't execute this one. If there is no break, then it will simply try to execute. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's look into another type of looping, which is while looping. As I already mentioned, Python supports two types of loops, for loop and while loop. So let's look at what is a while loop. While loop is nothing but precondition loop. So what happens is it will first check the condition, then it will try to execute whether if the condition satisfies, then only it will try to execute the iteration, else it won't execute. So the while loop construct is in this format: while condition, then execute statements. So this is how we write while loop. So basically I'll just replace with, let's see what is the condition. I will say, yeah. So while loop doesn't support getting the value. So like something like we wrote here, right? For I in temp, where I is being replaced by temp directly. So that doesn't happen in while loop. You need to pass some kind of index. So let's see what is that. We have a temp. What we are doing is we are trying to put I equal to 0, and then we are trying to access each and every element temp of I mod 2 equal to 0. Okay. Yeah. So if no, let's put like something like this. If I temp of I greater than 4, then we try to print value, and we are trying to print temp of I, and we have to also increment I, because else it will become an infinite loop. So we have to, so the way we increment I is I equal to I plus 1. So we are actually incrementing it, but the short form to write this one is I plus equal to 1. So they both mean the same thing. Okay. So let's see what is the actual output. Sorry, something. So as I mentioned, while loop is a precondition loop. So first it will check the condition, then only it will try to execute. So what's happening here is we are iterating till the particular number is less than 4. Once it is less than 4, I mean, once it is greater than 4, we are simply coming out of the loop. We don't care. We don't want to execute. So what's happening? So if you see the list, 1 is less than or equal to 4. Yes, you come inside. We executed the value. 2 is less than or equal to 4. Yes, I'll come inside. I'll execute the statement. 3 is less than or equal to 4. Yes, I'll come inside and I'll execute the instruction. And then it is 4. 4 is less than or equal to 4. Yes. Then I'm executing this instruction. And then again, I'm incrementing my value to the next position. Now it is 5. 5 less than or equal to 4. It's false. So it won't execute this statement. Any questions till now?
No.
Okay. So yeah, so this is another basic loop, how we so how we write in Python. There is another thing called infinite looping, which is never ending condition. So how do you write it? You simply need to put while true. So this is keep on. This will keep on incrementing. So let's see what actually happening. So there is no way we can break this loop. Can you see this? This is keep on incrementing. So this is called as infinite looping. Either you have to terminate your program directly, or you need to have some kind of condition here. After so and so number, I'll just try to break my loop. So there will be some scenarios where you will be utilizing the infinite looping. So yeah,
Okay.
so you have the
So
basic.
without any condition, it will be infinite loop. Huh?
It will be infinite. So that the condition is while true. It is true forever. That's it.
Okay. Got it.
Or you can also write. You can also have loop something like this. I will say that my I if I is greater than -1, I need to keep on incrementing. In the sense, if you see here, my I is equal to 0. By default, it is equal to 0. It can never. So it is always greater than -1 only. You're getting it. It will never be less than -1. So this is also another condition. It is keep on executing infinite.
And correct. And in which scenario?
Okay. So when you want to iterate some, you do not know some kind of length of a list. Okay. When you're trying to use some kind of APIs, third-party APIs, web APIs, and you're trying to fetch the data and you're trying to looping over it, and you do not know what is the length of the data. So you keep on iterating until you reach some kind of breaking condition. Say something like, let's put it in this manner. While true, and I'm trying to access the value. Okay. I do not know my end of the list. So it will break, right? Because let me show why it will break. So if you see here, list is indexed out of the range because you up till here you have accessed the values. That's well and good. But you are also trying to access the 11th index, which is not available. Okay. At that point, it will simply break. So there are some kind of scenarios where infinite looping will be beneficial for you when you do not know the actual length of your iterating structure.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so something, I mean, we can have some kind of terminating condition, something like this. So I will be using some kind of exception handling. Okay, I'll say so these are some kind of advanced concepts, but I'm just showing you some example. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah. So what's happening? Previously, it has thrown an error because we have reached end of the loop and we do not know where to go. It is like it is simply it simply broke the application execution. So in that times when you do not know what is the length of I mean how much of data you are dealing with, so you simply have these kind of concepts where you will be doing an infinite looping, and then once you reach the end of the loop, somehow it will raise an exception, some kind of exception. Okay, in our case it is saying index error because it do not find the 11th index here, and once we catch that exception, we are simply breaking the loop. This is one kind of scenario where you will be beneficial with infinite looping. Any questions? Hello.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So we are done with two concepts of looping, which is for looping and as well as while looping. So let also see what all things you can iterate over, means you can loop over. So you can loop over, in Python, you can loop over lists. You can loop over arrays. You can loop over sets. You can loop over tuples. You can loop over dictionaries. So what is a list? List is nothing but storing different kinds of objects into one single array. Array will only store same data type of object, but list can store different data type of objects together. In the sense, sample list is, you can store an integer, you can store a string, you can store a floating point number, you can store a boolean value, everything. You can iterate over anything. So if you look here, print I. So what's happening here? Let's just comment out this part. So if you see here, what's happening is, I am printing 1, I am printing string, I am printing 1.2, I am also printing the boolean value which is true, false, true or false. Yeah. So what are sets? Set is nothing but, so you basically create a set in this format.
Hmm.
So if you see here, this is how it's happening internally.
Rohit, one question.
Yeah.
Today I can see that this editor is changed, some new window
Where?
where you are typing.
Yeah.
क्या है लास्ट टाइम तो कुछ यूनिक्स जैसा विंडो था या कमांड प्रॉम्प्ट
So this is called as IDE, Integrated Development Environment. So you basically यहाँ लिखो, command prompt में Unix बना के लिखो, या वहाँ भी लिख सकते हो, दोनों सेम ही है. So you just need to configure this. This is an again advanced concepts, but yeah, so it's nothing but both are same. It's
ओके ओके
सेम. वो वहाँ सेट ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शंस लिख रहे हो ग्रुप करके, यहाँ आपको एक लाइन लिखना पड़ेगा बस ऐसा.
ओके ओके
ठीक है. So even you iterate tuples in the same manner. Okay, so let's look at how do we iterate dictionaries. Dictionary is nothing but key value pairs. So let me show you how do we iterate a dictionary. Sample dict equal to key 1 value 1, key 2 value 2, key 3 value 3. So let's see how we are actually trying to access dictionary. So this is one of the important concept how we will be looping over. So let's see, let's try to print I. What is the actually value of I? So if you print I, so what's happening? It is only printing key 1, key 2 and key 3. It is not printing the values of it. Why? Because when you directly try to loop over dictionary, what it does is it will only try to fetch these things for you. It will internally build a list of keys. So internally what's happening is it is building a list of keys, something like this: key 1, key 2, and then key 3. Okay, keys list, and then it is trying to iterate over there. But how do I access these values? So how will I access these values? I simply need to do, as you already know, how will you access a dictionary value? Simply by their key. So you will be passing the key in this manner. So this is my dictionary. I am passing the key in this manner. Square brackets, and then you have to pass the key value inside it. Immediately it will try to access this value. So let's print out the loop again. So you see, I is printing the key 1. Sample dict of I is printing the value 1. In the sense, we are iterating over the keys list. And then if you want to access a particular value, you have to pass its key. So that's why it is printing key 1, value 1, key 2, value 2, and key 3, value 3. So this is how you iterate over the storage structures in Python. Any questions till now?
So please continue.
So yeah, if there are no questions, then we are at the end of the looping. So if there are any questions, just let me know now. Yes. Okay. So yeah. So we are done with Python basics. We are done with if conditional statements. We are done with Python variables, expressions, and data types. Then we are done with Python functions, which is the session 2. Session 2 also covers the data structures, I mean the storage structures. Python supports tuples, dictionaries, lists, sets, etc. So it also supports arrays as well. And then we also saw how to access, how to create a list, how to create a dictionary, and how to access those values in the previous session. So in today's session, we have seen looping, infinite looping, different types of looping, for else looping, while looping, etc. And we also seen how do we try to iterate over list, dictionary, sets, or tuples. Okay. So this is how these are the Python basics. So let's jump into the final topic, which is how do I install and how do I work with third-party libraries. Okay. So anyone, what is a third-party library?
No idea.
Okay. So yeah. So anyone, I mean, all of you are familiar with programming languages in the past, or is it new?
Yes, familiar.
Familiar, right? So if we look at the basic C or Java, we do import hash. I mean, sorry, we do something like hash include stdio.h in C. Is it familiar with you guys? This one? While writing a new program, we simply include something like this, stdio.h in a C manner. And in Java, we do import Java C dot Java dot let's say collections framework. So we have a collections framework in there. We import some kind of hash map or something like this in Java as well. Okay, so these are the libraries which we are actually going to use in our when we are developing a project. For example, libraries are nothing but helping hands for you. For a simple example, you want to build, there is a use case, you want to read files from, you want to read Excel, and then you want to do some kind of calculation on the Excel, and then you want to store the Excel in SQL database. All right. So one part, so the use case is read Excel, perform, basically transform. The last one is dump into SQL. Okay. So this is your basic use case. Okay. So what happens is here, most in a typical scenario, we can only do this particular transform. Okay. Rest these two things we depend on some libraries, because we don't want to go and write a machine level code for reading an Excel using some kind of files concept, and then we do not want to directly talk to SQL using some low level code. We depend on libraries. So the only main thing what we can do is we can somehow do the transformations using the Python, and then we depend on some kind of helper library which will help us to dump the data into SQL. So that's what we called as third-party packages or libraries, or any, I mean, all are same, nothing more. Clear till now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see some of the third-party libraries. How do we install third-party libraries? So it is nothing but when you are trying to set up a Python. So in the first, it is already there in the uh, first section or first session. We have already seen how to set up a Python environment. So basically, there is something called pip. So basically, in Linux, you have ls and clear or all this kind of things, right? mkdir. Okay. So when you set up Python, there is some built-in command line interface which will be given to you. That is called as pip. Pip is nothing but Python packaging. It's kind of a packaging service. Okay. What it will do, it will try to fetch libraries from the internet for you, and it will try to put it in a proper storage structure in your storage structure. Okay. So when I want to install some libraries, third-party libraries, for example, can you also see my screen now? I've opened Google Chrome. Is it visible?
No.
Okay. So let me do a new share. Is it visible now?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at some of the third-party libraries which are developed in Python. Okay. For example, if you look here, this is a third-party library which will talk to MongoDB. Okay, MongoDB database. Okay. So, and how to set up and how to install? This is how we install the library. Pip install Mongo. So what happens when you enter this command from this particular server? We are trying to fetch Mongo library, and it will be placed in our Python environment. After that, we can simply import these statements. Make sense? So I'll just show you before installing the library. I'll simply do import Mongo. So what is the error? It says that no module named Mongo. Let's also see in the in this environment. Import Mongo. It says module not found. Okay. It means that this library is not found in our local database, in our local environment. If it's not available, can you please try to install, or have you given a typo in this library name or something like that? So now I want to set up this particular Mongo library in my local environment. So what will I have to do? I simply need to execute this kind of command. So let's execute the command. Pip install Mongo. So what's happening in the background is, it is going to this particular website, this server. This is a PyPy server. It's a public server by Python, where all the Python packages are uploaded here. So now it is downloading from that particular location, and it has installed, and it is successfully stored in this location. Make sense? Now let's see whether we are we really able to import Mongo or not. See, now it is not even throwing you error, because now previously it was not installed. It has thrown this error. Now it is installed. It is not throwing in error. So you can happily use this third-party library in your code. So this is how we install a third-party library or some other external libraries in your code. So what if I want to uninstall it? Pip yes, I want to delete it. Now let's try again. Oh, the session is saved. Wait a minute. See, again module not found, because we have simply uninstalled it. So this is how we interact with libraries which are available over the internet, or you want to get some kind of helper library for the use case, as you all discussed, like for the use case like here, like so reading the Excel, you won't be able to sit and, we won't be able to sit and write the file parsing logic. So we have some third-party libraries. We simply need to install some kind of pip install Excel parser, and then it will try to install it, and then you have to use it to, in our use case, as an example I'm saying. So you will be using this Excel parcel imaginary library to read the Excel. Then you try to do some kind of transformation logic. Then you will be installing some kind of SQL library, third-party library. You pass the connection strings for the SQL and simply dump the data over there. So this is how we work with external libraries in Python. Make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this library, can we say that like all kind of the structure of source structure, either unstructured data, it is supporting all the things, right?
This particular library?
Not this particular, means in Python third party library is it available for the all the kind of source structures or
Python
non-structured?
A to Z is available. A to Z, you can just find many things online. So in this, if you want to go, just go to this PyPy server, you can find different projects, different kind of libraries available for different kinds of tasks. If not, you can also build your own library, or you can also build your own, this use case, and you can write your own logic on that as well.
Okay, for this build case, I think we need to write, as you said, like machine learning parser kind of things if you are reading the data and if you're creating your own library for that.
Yes, you can create your own library and just you can publish over here. It is access to the world directly, so you don't need to do anything. Simply you have to create an account and then upload your project over there. You have to give the GitHub link to it. Simply it will fetch the data from the GitHub directly, so nothing more.
Okay, okay.
So this is how we work with third-party libraries. So there are plenty of third-party libraries to achieve different kinds of tasks for you.
Okay. Okay.
So there is also a library which will actually help you to talk to your hardware system directly. You can also talk to your any kind of your Wi-Fi router directly using those libraries. I mean, there are many things like that. So you can either build by understanding how the things works in the hardware world, or you can use some kind of external library which is actually doing the task for you. Make sense?
Yeah, Rohit, so can we say that like all these steps which you have mentioned here, like read the Excel, and second one is the transformation, and third one is the load the data. So we
Yeah.
can so say that in the real time project, because in real time scenario,
Yeah.
we'll import the data from flat file and different
Yeah.
kind of database, and like unstructured data PDF also. So
Yes.
means we can say that mostly things supported by Python will only look into the only for the transformation things, what the business logic you want to transform, that thing you need to take care about that, and other rest of the things is take care of by Python.
I mean, not exactly by Python. What I'm saying is I'm just giving you the essence of third-party libraries. You can write your own logic at this point. You can write your own logic at this point. You can also write your own logic at this point. But mostly in today's world, people are only concentrating on the main business logic. Rest all they just depend on some kind of third-party libraries. So as an example, we have something called Pandas. Pandas is a data analysis library. Okay, so you can do data manipulation, some data. You can get the data statistics out of your data. This is a third-party library. This is again downloaded by the open source community. Okay, this is being maintained by different Python developers. So simply, if you want to install and start working on it, import pip install pandas. So once you do this one, it will be installed, and then you can simply import. And to be honest, uh, pandas support read Excel. So I'll show you. You can read an Excel. You can do some kind of transformations on this pandas, yeah, you can do the transformation. It will also write to Excel, so it can also write to an Excel. So something like this. It supports everything. This completely supports this use case. So pandas is a kind of a data manipulation tool. We can see that. I'm just giving you the essence of third-party libraries, how it's there. Else you can write your own logic. That's no issue at all. Or you can depend on some other stuff, some stuff developed by people again.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So this is how all about third-party libraries and how you use it. And even Python has built-in libraries as well. There are many built-in libraries in Python. When you install Python, you have something called uh, collections import order dict. Order dict is nothing but an abstraction over the dictionary, which is supported by Python again. So these are again built-in libraries which supports. You have number library, numbers, you have string library. These are all, there are many things. So this is how you import libraries and you work with them. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's it then. Yeah, so if there are no further questions, then we can close the session because we already covered pretty much all the topics, all the basics from Python. The rest all you guys need to have to do some kind of hands-on to understand more and more how the internal structure is working.
Rohit, I have a question.
Yes.
How to know list of library which are installed in the application?
How to know list of all the libraries?
Yeah, libraries which are installed.
Okay, so we have a command for that, pip freeze. When you do this, it will print out all the libraries installed with their versions as well. What was the version of that particular library as well.
Okay.
And on top of that, these are only the third-party libraries which it will show. Built-in libraries, it won't show the built-in libraries because there are some set of built-in libraries. Whenever you set up Python, those things will be coming up and storing in your data. It won't show this one. It will only show what are the third-party libraries you have installed. These are all the third-party libraries which I have installed in my environment. Make sense? So yeah, you have many different libraries where you can actually work with, or you can build your own library as well with proper versioning. But yeah, so this is how things happen in Python when it comes to Python. Any further questions?
Yeah, Rohit ji.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to ask one question because I'm not with the programming background. I'm with management background.
Yes.
But can we run Python along with other programming, just say with PHP? Even suppose in our PC already XAMPP is running. You can say Apache is running. And along with Apache, I want to run Python also. So is it possible?
So you want to deploy your code in an Apache server?
Yeah.
You can do that. That's possible.
Yeah, because suppose I have a big project, and in that project, for some part I want to use Python code, and for rest of the part I want to use a PHP code. So how is it possible? How we can do it?
So in theory, you can port different things, but the only thing is you need to agree data how you want to share the data. Because see, for example, do you know about APIs?
Yeah, we know APIs.
APIs. So API is nothing but so what we do, we deploy a Python application, we deploy a PHP application. The common construct is the JSON data which you interact.
Yeah. Because at this moment I'm working on a project where I have an online application, and on my client side, client is using .NET server, and for that they have SQL server placed on their local environment. So by using static IP from online server, we are sending our data directly in offline server and we place it. Instead of using API, we are directly passing our data to their server, and from their server they are using the data. So like this, because in a real time scenario we have different type of tasks where we need different type of work, so where we have to mix and match. So for only for install, because my first session was not, I was not available on first session.
Yeah.
So for installation purpose, how we can run Python with Apache?
It's a good question. I haven't myself experimented with how to run with Apache, but the thing is, I know we can deploy Python scripts in Apache server and then run them. It
Okay.
is possible. So there is something called Flask Python. So Flask is nothing but it is a web framework which will allow you to write Python web application. Okay.
Okay.
So internally, Python has a built-in server,
Yeah.
which is something called this. I think I don't know how to spell this, but yeah. So this will help you to set up a server. Okay.
Okay.
This can be replaced with Apache, and then you can build your own API on it. So then you can have an interaction, keep on interaction with different kinds of uh, different
Yeah,
kinds
I
of
think,
programming languages.
yeah, we will have to research on this part. Okay.
Exactly, but it is possible.
Yeah, it's possible because PHP is also supporting SQL Server. So, but for that we have to do different type of settings, and once we are able to do the setting, then we can work on SQL Server also with PHP.
So to be honest, what I can say is Python will do everything end to end.
Yeah.
Even it can talk to SQL for you, it can talk to some other API for you, it can talk to different kinds of databases, RDBMS. Even
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Spark, big data, we use Python as well. Even in
Yeah.
machine learning, we use Python as well. Even on hardware projects, we use Python as well. So it can talk to all the machines. You just
Yeah.
need to find the connections and how to do that. That's it.
Yeah, that is the beauty of that. And but only the tough part is, because if we will try to complete the whole project in Python, it will be very costly. So for saving the cost purpose, we can only for main work we can do in Python, and we can mix and match with other part where easily we can do with PHP or something else.
Yes, yes,
So
yes, yes.
because in real time scenario, even in different country, because nowadays a new concept is coming, image parsing, JPG parsing concept is there in the market.
Yes.
And I think in this in today's environment you can see our traffic cameras is scanning your bikes ka jo bhi hai, numbers they
Uh,
scan and they read the number and they parse that number. So all these things, this technology are at this moment at very advanced level, and
yes.
in future everything will be like this only. So we will have to be prepared for this type of scenario.
Yeah, आप जो बोले थे ना image processing का, so that is also,
Yeah.
that can also be done. So
Yeah.
you have video analysis, you have machine learning, you can do image
Yeah.
feature detections like number plates, उसके से extract
Yeah.
कर सकते हो, कुछ
Yeah.
भी चल
Yeah.
सकता
Yeah.
है.
Yeah. So these things are can be done with Python. Na?
Python independently, it can handle your all analysis, web
Yeah.
application, mobile application, machine learning, hardware programming, and as well as desktop application as well. So it covers
Okay.
all the fields.
Okay. Okay, it's a good thing, but only we have to do
You
in
have
some
to give
initial.
some time and
Yeah.
understand how the structure
Yes.
works.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
main.
Yes. 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 Yeah. Thanks.
Yep.
So thank you, Rohit ji.
Yep.
And yes, now it was the third session, 3 continuous week. So at least we have completed this. Now it's our responsibility. So if we have like now we have to do the hands-on on this. Some of us will be working on this practically in our organization.
Yes.
So yes, definitely in case of any issue, if you feel, you can post your query in the group. Rohit ji will try to help you out. And nothing much to say.
Yeah.
We will plan the next session on